welcome. Atwater City Council meeting for September 28th, 2015, regular session. At this time, if you would all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Chaplain McClellan. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, as we approach your throne tonight, we're so thankful that we can. And Lord, we're so thankful for our fires that are under control now. We thank you for those firemen, Lord, that risked their lives. And Lord, there were some that even gave their lives. We pray that you be with their families at this time. Father, we thank you for each one of them that we're serving. We also pray for our police that are patrolling tonight. Lord, that you have your hand upon them. Father, you protect them. Lord, build a hedge around them, get them home safely. I also pray you be with their families. We thank you for them as well. And Father, we've come here tonight to meet, to discuss the affairs of our city. We thank you for those that we have elected and put in place to help us, Lord, to better our city. We pray as they meet tonight, Lord, that you give them wisdom. And Father, as they discuss the issues of our city, Lord, may they have the right decision. And Father, we just thank you for this time that we can come and gather. We also pray that everything that is said and done tonight would be that to glorify thy name. For we do ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Bergman.
Here.
Raymond.
Here.
Rivero.
Here.
Vineyard.
Here.
Price.
Here.
We have a quorum. Approval of agenda as posted or as amended.
Are there any items to which the City Council would like to amend or delete from the agenda this evening? City Attorney.
One of the items on the consent calendar needs to be changed. It doesn't need to be pulled or considered separately unless the council wants to, but it's item number 4, the award of the bids. The amount that is listed in the staff's recommendation for approval does not include the applicable sales tax. When you add the sales tax in, the total amount is $113,291. That is still under the approved amount for the contract, but we do need to make that technical change there to include the sales tax.
Thank you. Are there any other amendments to the agenda that council would like to bring forward? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for the question.
Rivero.
Yes.
Raymond.
Yes.
Vineyard.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries. Presentations. Update regarding Buhat Colony High School's water usage plan.
Good evening, council members. I hope everyone has their presentation. And is there a clicker for me to walk through everybody? Slides? There is? Clicker? Slides?
Should be up there.
Yeah, normally. A remote.
It's a whole new system, so we're trying to figure it out ourselves.
Young man over there will help you.
I have a presentation. It's on PowerPoint. It should be on the computer already. Yeah, it is. Oh, okay.
For those that are at home watching this on live streaming or whatever, we have new TV monitors in here that are showing us things. So I'm hoping that they can see it at home as well, but if not, join us here someday. This is actually kind of cool. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the council for the opportunity to present what we have for our water conservation program. We appreciate the council's time in allowing me to come and visit, and also say that through your allowance of allowing us to do the water plan that we've talked about, it enables a lot of students and community members to use our facility as well as our school. And so let me walk you through real quick what I have for our presentation tonight, what we're working on to make sure that we can get to that required reduction and go from there. First of all, we have 150 stations that cover our 40 acres. Presently, we water on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday. But of those 150 stations, only 25 to 40 actually are running on those days. We've reduced our time from 10 minutes a station to 7 minutes. The only other option that we have for our athletic fields are waters on Tuesday and Saturday as well. And again, we make sure that we don't water more than 30 minutes per station on our athletic fields. It's the down arrow or the side arrow. It's all good. So in 2013, we had approximately 6,998 units, and I believe Jim and I were talking about that earlier today. It's like 600,000 gallons of water that we use with the city. We're in an unusual situation because we also have water that comes from MID, and normally we have a contract with MID that runs from April to October. So on the next slide here in a minute, we'll talk about the problem that we had in 2014. In 2014, our water consumption went up quite a bit with the city. Our MID, if you look at it, went down considerably, and the reason is when they were working on the expressway bypass, one of the construction crews hit the pipeline for MID, which turned off our MID water, and we relied on city water at that time. So that's why our consumption was up quite a bit with the city. Now, again, I had worked on a chart, and I believe City Manager Petro and Mr. Vineyard brought it to me. Last year, we used approximately 1.5 million gallons. And if you look at the 8-month comparison, we're down to less than, well, I want to say less than 1.1 million gallons of water. So actually we have, from last year to this year, reduced our consumption about 32%. So we're getting closer to the goal of 34%. And again, I understand that it's a baseline from 2013. Again, we're in an unusual situation because we use MID water and we use city water. So MID's probably happy because they look at their comparison, it says it looks great. But we are working hard to make sure that we make the city of Atwater's water reduction as well. Yeah, sorry. So again, there's an 8-month comparison. Again, we're on track to be about 32% reduction, and again, we've talked about it needed to be 34. I have a new groundskeeper that's actually on campus with me that is his job to make sure that the sprinklers are working correctly. We don't have any leakage, any waste, making sure that everything is working and functioning correctly. So here's what we look at to make sure that we can continue to make this conservation effort. We are looking at deep watering our trees. That's our biggest concern. We don't want to lose our trees. We've eliminated 200 sprinklers. If you go by Buhite Colony, you can see that there's a mow strip that they actually took out the lawn and they put in the rubberized bark, and that eliminated all those sprinklers. The trees that are on that mow strip right now are on drip irrigation, so that it eliminates any kind of waste there. We're going to continue to work on reducing our time and the water needs as the weather gets cooler. One thing we have to remember, though, is that we end our contract with MID on October 31st. And I think that's it. That's what I have for you right now.
Okay. Are there any questions? Sir, would you state your name for the
Oh, I'm
record?
so sorry. Kirk Coleman, Associate Principal, Buhite Colony High School. Need my street address, or are you good?
Nah.
Okay. Yeah, most people can find me at Buhite
You'll
Colony.
get a drive-by or something there, who knows? But Are there any questions for Mr. Foreman? I guess my only concern with respect to Buhack Colony, I've had several phone calls over the past few months where there was water that was running rampantly down the street. Day and night I got some calls, and I'd just like to know that that particular problem has been addressed.
I took this job on July 8th. July 9th, that was like #1 priority. And I inherited, we restructured, I'm sure you've heard about it, our crews. So I now have a groundskeeper that is solely my employee. He reports to me and me directly. And we make sure that we take care of that. We did have some issues. One night, every once in a while, we get something funny happen with that MID pump. They called me at 10:30 at night. I said, turn it off. Bobby will look at it in the morning. We don't want anything to go out and about and cause that kind of issue or concern.
Okay, and there was also some concerns about some sprinklers that are running along Avenue 2?
Right, exactly, yes.
Is that the area you're
That was
referring
one
to?
of the areas that we worked on, yes.
Okay.
And then, again, the mow strip I'm talking about is one that's on Buhack, and that was kind of an experimental item that the district office had some extra funding for and some material, and we've tried it out. It works great. Now, if we can just continue to work on that, that'll help that whole process of that mow strip down Avenue 2.
Okay. Mr. Vineyard?
Yeah, that just kind of enlightened, we had a talk that the city manager and I met with Principal Hobbs and Kurt, that actually took, for people who haven't been by there, they actually took a big portion of the mow strip out and put bark in there. So they've eliminated all the watering in that corner, and it looks really good. And they've, just to clear that up, they've pretty much cut out the watering on those mow strips in Avenue 2 and stuff. They still do water a little bit. So I do want to commend them for cutting back a lot of their watering and working on that. And I know you'll continue working on those things. If there's anything we can do to help you exchange ideas, same as Atwater High School, feel free to call us and we can continue talking, because I know we're all working together to try to reach that same goal. So
Exactly, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that has been our goal. That's been my principal's goal from the day I stepped on, was we had to make sure we got to that 34%. It was a little bit of a challenge for me in July, just because of where we were, but as you can see, and even the paperwork you have, you can see the progress has been made.
And I would say just shoot even a higher goal if you can. You know, should be all of us. We can all shoot higher goals and
Right.
see what we can reach. So, and we'll help you out.
Hopefully we can get to 43%, and then everybody will be good.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Anyone from the public wish to address? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I'm being told we're not going out on live stream tonight.
Can we check with Jen? Should we check with Jen and the sound, see what's going on? No?
I don't know. I'm sure he probably knows. Mike, do you know if... Okay.
Okay.
We're not on Comcast, but we are going out on live stream. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Comments from the public. At this time, any person may comment on any item which is not on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city council. Please state your name and address for the record. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. To comment on an item that is on the agenda, please wait until the item is read for consideration. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes.
Is there anybody tonight that wishes to address the city council? By the way, is the sound a little better tonight? Okay, very good.
Good evening. My name is David Hammett. I live at 1147 Kelso Street. I'd like to thank the city police department for getting me so upset that I had to spend 14 hours in the emergency room in the VA hospital to get my heart back in rhythm and so forth from the 18th. I called to complain about children making so much noise, banging, climbing, slamming about there, and I asked them if they would enforce the code that I had written out of this book, and the officers just out and out refused. So I made several calls to the police department. I think I made 6 to begin, because it started out with 9 kids, and it ended up being about 18 to 25 kids out there. Just my blood pressure my heart rate was so fast that my heart was beating at 291 beats per minute Saturday morning when I went to the hospital. That's twice the amount that a normal heart should beat. My blood was not even moving. It was seriously, and the 3 officers that came out, and plus I also asked for the sergeant to come out, thought it was a joke. The thing that after they talked to the mothers, they came and they pulled me aside, and the sergeant did, and his first question to me was how old I was. And I told him at the end of October I'd be 65 years old. And he said, well, have you ever considered moving into an elderly complex? And I said, what, are you telling me I have to move? And his answer to me was, it was kind of vulgar and disrespectful. And I came back to him and I said, you know, I'm not cussing at you. I'm not using the Lord's name in vain. And so he just threw everything in the car and said, that's it, we quit, we're out of here. I served in the military for 9 years, all right? Served this country. I came back to the Merced area. I came into this area, and I've come into your community, my community, because I was born here in 1950. I come in here, and I served the city, cleaning up the messes when the police department would call me when they had a wreck on the streets, they had somebody that was drunk, disorderly, or something like that. I drove for several tow companies here in the town and helped. When I asked somebody to enforce a civil code and they just kind of laugh at me as law enforcement, that shows me how much respect in things that you get. One of the officers even had the audacity to tell me at first, thank you for my service. You know what? I hear that so much time. It's a joke. It's a joke. Us Vietnam era veterans are told to stand in the back of the bus and wait till we get there. And as far as your Lieutenant Joseph, 2 times I've come in here. And by the time I left, somebody, either the mayor or the city manager, said that he would be in touch with me, and he has not called me for 2 times. And so, you know, there's something needs to be done. Because I just filed a lawsuit with my landlord over this whole thing with the Housing Act, and they were talking to me along. I've talked with Washington about this with the VA, and I've talked with the state attorney's office about this, because it's disrespectful and it's not right. And I want to tell you that I did not appreciate the 14 hours that I had to spend in there to get my heart back into rhythm so that I could come home to take care of my wife, who is dealing with Parkinson's disease.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? Next agenda item, please.
Consent calendar. Background information has been provided on all matters listed under the consent calendar, and these items are considered to be routine. All items under the consent calendar are normally approved by one motion. If discussion is requested on any item, that item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Are there any items that the council would like to remove for separate consideration this evening off the consent calendar? Hearing none, I would like to pull number 3. And we'll entertain a motion for the remainder.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the question.
Raymond,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries. Number 3 is proclamations, Childhood Cancer Month.
At the last council meeting, we were looking for someone that would be here for the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month for the month of September. Unfortunately, none of the representatives could make it, but I wanted to read into the record the proclamation for the Cancer Fund for Children. It goes as follows. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection report cancer is a leading cause of death and disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15. This tragic disease is detected in nearly 15,000 of our country's young people each and every year, and whereas 1 in 5 of our nation's children lose their battle with cancer. Many infants, children, and teens will suffer from long-term effects of comprehensive treatment, including secondary cancers. And whereas found over 20 years ago by Stephen Firestein, a member of the philanthropic Max Factor Cosmetics family, the American Cancer Fund for Children Incorporated and Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated are dedicated to helping these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection provide a variety of vital patient psychological services to children undergoing cancer treatment at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital in Stanford in Palo Alto, USSF Bianoff Children's Hospital, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also sponsor Courageous Kid Recognition Award ceremonies, community Get Well cards, and hospital celebrations in honor of the children's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Therefore, I, James E. Price, Mayor of the City of Atwater, do hereby proclaim the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Atwater and encourage all of our residents to make childhood cancer a national priority and to assist in fighting the good fight against this terrible disease. So, with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the proclamation. So moved. Second. We've already gone.
Okay, I missed it.
Call for the question.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries. Funding and budget matters, Treasurer's Report for the month of August 2015.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. Before you is August Treasurer's Report.
Can you enlighten us on what possibly raised the red for the general fund?
Sorry?
The general fund, I've noticed, is raised somewhat. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, from the $3,400,000 to $3,900,000.
We paid the CAL FIRE contract in the end of August. That's $539,000.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Heller? Comments? Comments from the public? Would somebody like to make the motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
First and second. Call for the question.
Raymond,
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Rivera,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Motion carries. City Council matters. Selection of celebration date and placement of In God We Trust signs at City Hall.
As you all recall, we, not long ago, voted in favor of having "In God We Trust" as the motto here within the city of Atwater. So it's at this point now where it's time to put action to the words. So we have been looking at, locations where "In God We Trust" will be placed outside. And one of the items, or one of the areas that I think jumped to the forefront here was right above our door coming in along the eave out there. And I hadn't heard of any other locations out here, but that one seemed to be the place to be. So, Mr. Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we're looking at dates, and I've been in contact with several religious organizations that are extremely excited about this. They want to be part of it, and they want to make this an event that will stand out. We've been in contact with a Christian band out of Merced called Radical Christian. They're from Not Your Mama's Church. I don't know if everybody has heard of that, but I heard that they are excellent. They play excellent music, and they're very excited to be here. I know the city manager and I have volunteered to barbecue for the event, and there are several, yeah, we did. And there's several other organizations that are very excited to do this. They did come up with 2 dates, because a lot of the organizations have events all through October. They had asked the possibility of maybe November 7th putting it on, but I think another date that would tie in with other events could possibly be November 11th, which they asked about. We have a veterans ceremony, and we're already having an event here. Personally, I think it would be great to put them both together. We can make one heck of an event. We always have a great event for veterans, but adding some music, adding a barbecue, I think would really pay service to the veterans that have done much for this city and our country, as well as the event of debuting our motto in the council chambers as well as outside. So I personally, after comments from these groups, I would suggest possibly November 11th for an unveiling.
And everyone, the musical group, everybody's got that as an open date, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Oh, Mr. Vineyard.
Just making sure, don't we normally do November 11th at the Veterans Park? Just making sure.
There's a ceremony there, but we have had events here as well,
Okay.
Where we have done it. Sometimes, we have done events out of the memorial for veterans, and I think we could possibly have the event there at the park, but, we really should be here if we're going to unveil our mottos. So
Right.
I think it's possible to do the whole thing here, as we have in the past when we first started doing that. We did it here at City Hall.
Well, my concern is we just got to make sure we coordinate with the veterans, of course, to make sure, don't want to step on toes, obviously. Sure. So, but as long as we can coordinate with them, that's fine with me.
And we will have, Mr. Shaw, were you in contact with the sign makers, and they can meet that date of November 11th, do you know?
Yeah, we have the round ones already here,
Okay.
and the other one they're going to bring, nobody has really decided on the font of the letters or anything, so he's going to bring 3 different fonts and the way the letters are placed.
Okay.
With the flags on each end is what I understand they wanted, so he should have that by this week, and it shouldn't take very long to do it. So
Okay.
if it's the 11th, yeah, we have plenty of time to get that in.
Yeah, okay. And one of the things also that we were discussing just prior to tonight's meeting was some type of lighting to illuminate it over the door. So we'll delve into that as we move through this. But yeah, this is a big deal, and I think probably November 11th will probably work for everybody if everybody's on board for it. I see no reason that it wouldn't work.
Do we have the circular one that we could show the public?
They may not have seen it. Do we have it here? It's not, I thought I saw it earlier today.
It was out earlier, but if we're going to do an unveiling, is it proper to show it beforehand?
Okay.
Just a question.
Like seeing the bride before the wedding or something?
Where do you want to place it?
I think that would be an excellent place.
You're talking on the wall?
On the
right-
wall,
right- right-
behind Councilman's Vineyard and Rivero.
Okay. Anybody have any issue with that? Any suggestions from the public? None? Okay. All right, yeah, that probably, how big is that anyway in dimension? Okay, 3 foot maybe?
36 inches.
36 inches? Okay, yeah, that'll probably be good.
3 foot by my measure.
Yeah, okay. So, are we all in agreement then for the 11th? We'll notice that we need to necessarily make a vote out of that, do we?
I think so.
Nah.
I don't think so.
Congrats,
I
it's fine. Whatever.
I think we can mark our calendars and everything appropriately. So 11th, what time did we want to get going on this?
Well,
Why don't we coordinate with the VFW first to make sure that we can do it all?
works with
Okay.
You know,
Well,
that way, if they want to continue having their ceremony out there, we can plan for, and we want to do it here, that we could coordinate the two separately, so we're not infringing upon both.
Right.
Or if they decide they would like to have a combined one here,
Yeah.
then we can set the time after
Yeah,
that.
let's
That
make
would be
this
my
a-
suggestion.
Let's do that. Let's make a suggestion that we combine it first, but if not, then, so we don't conflict in the times.
and if they've already got something set, that we can make sure we time ours
Yeah.
after theirs or before.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Okay, good. Okay,
Next item.
that's it.
Discussion regarding city council compensation and benefits.
This item is coming by way of some events that have transpired, so I would turn to the city attorney for the moment here to explain council pay and benefits with respect to how it would be vested for members and what have you. City attorney.
Okay, so what happened is back, I think it was in April, looking at the date here. So back in April, there was a first reading and introduction of an ordinance and a adoption of resolutions that eliminated certain benefits and compensation for the mayor and city council members. So essentially, city council members by statute are permitted to receive compensation. And there's a specified amount in the government code that says how much you can receive and how much it can be raised and how long it's in force. And what this council did is they decided by a 4-to-1 vote, I believe it was 4-to-1 vote, yeah, that they would eliminate the city council's paycheck, essentially. But the way that the law is written, when you have somebody who comes into office and they are entitled to receive compensation, they cannot be forced to give that compensation up because it's deemed to be vested as of the time they came in. But city council members can waive their right to get compensation, and you essentially just donate it back to the city, so you just don't collect a paycheck. So by a 4-to-1 vote, they decided that from here on out, no new city councils, unless there's a vote to change the ordinance in the future, will receive any sort of compensation. But again, the 5 that are up here right now have the ability to keep that if they want until their term is up. And then anybody that comes in on a new term, whether re-elected or a brand-new election, they're not entitled to compensation. The same goes for the benefits that the city council gets, and that comes in the form of automobile allowances. I think was the cell phone in there, the cell phone stipend, and then health and welfare benefits like vision, dental, and health care. So with respect to the health and welfare benefits, the vision, dental, and medical insurance, the same rules apply as I stated with respect to the compensation. So the council here voted again by a 4-to-1 vote to eliminate all of the health and welfare benefits. So everybody that's up here, they still have the right to get them, but they also have the right to waive them. The other benefits that are not health and welfare benefits, like the automobile allowance and the cell phone, those are set by resolution. Those are not provided for by statute, and they don't qualify as health and welfare benefits under the Attorney General opinions and other cases that have looked at this specific issue. So those were eliminated immediately. So as we sit here today, all 5 of your council members are entitled to receive compensation. They're entitled to receive health and welfare benefits, but they also are entitled to waive those. Right?
Okay. Well, this one particular subject, as anyone who knows me knows, this was something that I took a very passionate approach to, I don't know, 10, 11 years. And I was very, very adamant about the fact that, the amount of the wages and benefits that were coming towards the council were excessive. They were just over the top. And especially when we compared to cities such as Merced, which is roughly 2.5 times our population, and their council only gets $60 apiece, period, with no other benefits. So in 2009, that's when it really came to the forefront for me, because at that point, in 2009, our reserve fund went into negative, and it's remained negative to this day. Our reserve fund is not getting very healthy at all. So the city has had to take some drastic measures, one of which you may recall was that we were right on the doorstep of declaring bankruptcy, one of 5 cities within the state. Thank goodness we had some creativeness, in part thanks to the gentleman to my right here that helped us out of that particular situation, but it didn't get us out of the dark. We're still there. And what transpired from that was a lot of sacrifice, if you will, on the part of some very dedicated city employees. We also had to go to the 4-day work week here, which is still in place. It's particularly disturbing, you know, to have been down the line this far, and those employees that have given up percentages of their pay still have not been made whole. As a matter of fact, this past March, the police department and the officers there that gave up the 22% that they voluntarily gave up were just brought back to even, back to their original amounts. There was no pay raise given to them to make them get anything more than what they gave up a couple of years prior to that. So it's become apparent that, you know, we're still not out of the woods financially. This is going to be a very long and hard road to, you know, go down, and a hard mountain to climb. We haven't even got, I mean, this last council meeting, we were talking about just doing a simple thing like painting a line down the middle of the street. And look at how hard it is to do that. And it all comes down to one reason: because of funding. Our money is very, very precious to us right now. And having stores closing all around us and all this are not going to help that situation one bit. So when things like, the council paying allowances comes up, and I explain to people, where we are at with that, it may seem to some that it's a small thing. I've even had some people say, you should be taking something. Well, yeah, maybe, but, in better days, maybe that'll happen, maybe with another council down the road here, in the years to come. But right now, it doesn't appear that would be something good to do. And it's not as a showboating or a grandstanding thing, it's just the right thing to do. I came into this job, as did others, not looking to get rich on it, not looking to go and get ourselves any kind of benefit at all at the taxpayer's expense. We did this because of a passion, if you will, for trying to help this city with ideas and things that we'd like to see accomplished in order to get there. So why are we going through all this tonight anyway? Well, in the spirit of only, and I mean only, the spirit of transparency, it has been brought to my attention that Councilman Rivero has elected to take his medical benefits in the way of vision and dental, and a statement of $341 per month. So I just want you to know, that this is a decision legally that he can do, and he has every right to do. It's his choice, okay? So, with that, anyway. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this matter?
Judy Bowling, 137 Judy Drive, Atwater. Joe, shame on you. Jesus Christ, you know what? You already get it from your regular job.
Judy.
I'm sorry,
Please.
I shouldn't, yeah. You already get it from your job. Didn't everybody make it plain to you that we need cars? We need people made whole here in the city. We need to return to 5-day weeks. There is a whole long list, and you're worried about medical when you're already getting it? You're disgusting.
Hi, Mayor, council members, Stacy. My name is Sandy Ron, and I represent the clerical unit for the city of Atwater. Several years ago, the employees were asked to take a pay cut to help the city, try to balance a budget, in which we did, and we negotiated in good faith that everything was going to remain the same. But we learned that Mr. Rivero has decided to take these benefits and this pay, which all it does is it takes away from the employees and what, we've given up to try to make this work for everybody. And so it's just very sad for us, that we work hard and don't get, we don't get to just take something because we decide we want it back. We have to, keep going like we are. So that's all.
Linda Dash, Atwater. I have a question for city clerk or whoever has the information, has the answers. If we could have a breakdown on what does a cell phone cost us per council member?
Nothing for cell phone.
Nothing for a cell phone. What about mileage? What does that cost?
There's zero amount associated with the auto allowance because it's tied to the budget.
How much is the auto allowance?
$350.
$350, not $3, right, $350? Okay.
One moment. There are members, I don't think anybody's taking auto allowance, but I believe there are members utilizing vehicles from the city.
Let's let.
I'm just saying,
I understand.
Full disclosure. about
hope-
what's being,
But they're not getting-
All right, hold on.
They're not getting the cash in their pocket, okay. So the cell phone, there's no out-of-pocket for that, is that correct? Okay, the auto allowance is $350. Now, the insurance, is that going to be, since you already have the insurance coverage to the school district, will you be getting the in lieu of payment? No.
Okay, if I could just clarify real quick. The only benefits so everything was eliminated for future councils, but the things that they're allowed to retain are 4, and that's their paycheck.
How much is that again, please?
341? 350.
351 is what I'm hearing
$351 for the
staff say.
paycheck?
So the
Okay.
paycheck is 351. They could elect to retain health insurance, vision insurance, and dental insurance. But the rest of it it's all been eliminated, and it was eliminated effective immediately upon passage of the resolution and adoption.
So the mileage
of
is
ordinance.
$350 a month. The paycheck is $351, the stipend is $351 a month. And what about the health insurance? What does that cost per employee and family?
The health insurance for the employees and families varies. Gina, do you have those
It
figures?
depends on the plan.
Okay, if it's HMO, PPO, either one, I'm not
For
picky.
family, you said for full family, it's
Yes.
approximately,
Member and family, yeah,
it's approximately $2,000.
$2,000 a month? Okay, okay. Remember, we have officers on the streets that are driving around, the cars break down. We are short staff in Public Works, in Parks and Recreation. That's just food for thought. Thank you.
And just as a point, thank you. And just as a point of clarification, what we're talking about is fractional of the full package. Nobody is receiving anything in the way of auto or cell phone or any of those things, okay? And this is strictly for vision, dental, and a stipend, okay? So just to be clear, okay? Anyone else? Mr. Rivera.
Oh, that was what I was just bringing up too, that about the total cost, because there's members that are utilizing city vehicles, and that's part of the cost too of the city. I don't know what you figure in, because there are some people not utilizing their own vehicles out there. They're opting to take city vehicles out and drive them around. So, and I don't know what the insurance is for that, for insuring those other individuals for driving city vehicles, because they're elected officials, and that had never been done in the past either, where they were driving city vehicles.
Well, I'm not sure I know who that may be, but nonetheless, what we've tried to structure here is if we go, let's say, Sacramento for something, that we would get a reimbursement according to the standard reimbursement rates, or bring back receipts, that type of thing. But as far as an actual allowance, anyway, that's not what we're doing right now. Lori?
I just had a question if that was going to be a budgeted item that's going to be coming back, because to my knowledge, it wasn't approved in the approved fiscal budget.
You're correct. The budget did not have this as a line item, so it's going to be an extra expense, if you will, from the general fund at this point. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here, you know, but I think you all bring up a very valid point, is that, you know, you need to be made whole as well, and the city as a whole. You know, we're still 4 days a week here at City Hall. You know, everybody in the big wide world here, including Merced. Merced opens a little bit later, but they're 5 days a week, and everybody does business on a 5-day-a-week thing. So, you know, I wish there was a different explanation, but these are the things. The city attorney went, you know, into good detail on just how this all works. And yes, we're going to continue to work and make sure that the clerical staff and everyone knows that you're not forgotten. We just, you know, we got to put them dollars together, and eventually we will. Pro Tem Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing, when the mayor made his comments earlier, he talked about police department being brought up. Let us not forget that came from Measure H, not tax dollars, just that specific item. Our employees have given up a lot in the last several years, given up 10%. We haven't had the opportunity to bring those whole. Our citizens in 2012, we had to change the way we, or the amount we pay on our utility bills. We had to bring up water, we had to bring up sewer to bring them to where they were, the funds were paying for themselves. At that time, in 2012, we had 3 council members that were taking benefits. They were asked from the spring of 2012 to give those benefits up. At that time, Mayor Fall gave up the benefits. The other 3 refused until coincidentally 2 months before the election to give them up. At the time, I thought it was a shame. And now we have one coming back asking for more, barely making contact with those speaking at the dais. So, Councilman Rivera, I would like you to explain to these individuals why you think your needs are more than the employees that have given up 10%, more than the citizens have paid for their utilities that was a necessity to do. But I'd just like for you to explain to them why your needs are more important than theirs. Nothing?
You have the floor.
I yield the floor to Councilman Rivera.
Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Mayor Price. I heard some things from Mayor Price about, the reason the city's back on track or barely making it back on track, but, I don't hear the people that actually did the work to go out and do it. And, there's one thing, there's Dave Church, I worked with him, and we brought in $400,000 on negotiating another contract to help this city, because when I came on, it was losing money left and right. It was sinking fast ship. Same thing with the solar, $400-some thousand. Even though I heard this council, several members talk it down, we're expanding it, and solar has saved the city $400-some thousand, and I'm proud to have worked with Jeff Rivera because he led the charge on that. Without that, we'd be another $500,000 in the hole right now. So, I'm hearing stuff about we're trying so hard. We're trying so hard. And yet, I don't really see that. But I was ready for this, and one of the reasons that I did this, I took out the council pay. I didn't take out the auto allowance. I didn't take out the health, vision and dental, yes, because that was taken away. And I didn't agree to that. But I did agree to take everything off before. But I came back and I took out the council pay. I knew that these single-issue politicians would jump to an opportunity to say they gave up council pay. Sure enough, here we are tonight. Let me say I've had enrolled again for council pay, and I have since again opted out. I've not cashed the checks, and I have one and a half checks here because I started that. I haven't cashed these checks. I haven't taken any money. But I did this for a reason. I will be donating these to groups and individuals in the community that work to do good and provide services to others in the community, that work for the people, not like unscrupulous council that continues to divert our money to special interests. I want to see individuals or groups healed that have been harmed by the actions of this council, and I'll give more detail on that in the future, because that's in the works. It might be a bit of a publicity stunt, but I want the people of this community to know what is actually taking place and how special interests continue to bleed the funds with the support of council that utilizes soundbite to divert attention away from what is actually taking place. Unlike several members on this council, I believe in this country and what the Founding Fathers created. Not a soundbite suggesting someone gave something up to hide the fact they're diverting funds from the residents to the pockets of special interests. The Founding Fathers laboriously contemplated about many things, including remuneration, when they were forming this great country. They agree that the individual representatives, the people, should be compensated. I can only speculate that they feared that special interests would capitalize and gain influence in those less ethical politicians. They did not want representatives that would sell out the people they should be representing for a few pieces of silver from special interest groups. A while back, I asked this council to place limits on the contributions special interests are allowed to give to the Atwater City Council members. When it came to the vote, the majority of this council voted that idea down. Heavens! Heavens, we want that money. They didn't want this small amount that was at that time, what was it, $12 per day, $11 per day? They didn't want that. But they wanted special interest funds. They did not go around and mention this out loud. They did not, like they did when they said they wouldn't receive council pay. But that doesn't sound as good, does it? I don't blame others in this council for declining council pay. It would be extremely embarrassing for them to accept so much special interest money while accepting council pay. At least now they can keep shouting they don't receive council pay. And in doing so, it would take the notice off of the money that has been received and perhaps even how much more they repay these special interests back with our funds. In fact, let's take a look at the compensation. One special interest contribution alone came to $10,000 to a council member. $10,000. And that by itself, I mean, this is approximately $11 to $12 a day what the council pay would be right now. But that $10,000 comes out to $27 for just one check, $27 a day in special interest money. But they will try to impress you they gave up council pay to $12 a day. After all, they have voted to give away almost $1 million for a ladder truck we didn't need. That comes out to how much? Well, let's take a look. That's $274 more a day into the taxpayers. $274 more a day in taxpayers' money. And that's not for the length of their term. That's for the next 10 years. 10 years. But they gave up their $12 a day. Good job. That's something to run on. They gave breaks to a developer that came out to almost $600,000, $500-some thousand if he accepts and takes all of those. And that's approximately $1,644 a day that's costing this taxpayers. Oh, we feel sorry for our employees. How can you do that when you're allowing developers to take that much money out of the coffers, or citizens have to make it up a difference? And that's what the residents will have to pay to make up these fees, because when the developer isn't paying his fees, who's going to put up the money to drill a new well? And we're talking about people, don't use your water, but we're allowing developers to get cuts and build a whole lot more houses, which is going to cost us more in well drilling and a lot of the other impacts. The fire contract we hear about, so they gave up council pay, $12 per day, but this current year it costs $200,000 more for the fire contract, over $200,000 more. That's $548 more per day than last year. But they say they gave up council pay. $548 more for this fire. And that was, most of it came from one individual. It was a humongous amount. But our own employees, their contract, but our own employees, no, we don't have money, but we had, majority of that was $548 a day, mostly paying for one individual. So, what are we doing for our employees if we're giving away this contracted money to CAL FIRE? The fire contract is now costing us $2.5 million. $2.5 million. That's nearly double what it used to cost us when we had our own fire department. Our own fire department was 1.4. In fact, the $1.1 million more per year is $3,014 more per year, or a day, than what we used to pay when we had our own fire department. And our own fire department, every individual was at the top of their salary. Every single individual was at the top of their salary. To suggest we bring it back, we'd save more than $1.1 million, because you're not going to hire everybody at the top of their salary. But some brag, I gave up council pay. In fact, everybody gave up council pay. I just recently took it out because I knew, oh, we see this, look at this council pay, it's an issue. Well, that's not doing anything for our city. It maybe politically, they're trying to do something. But there's a lot of things out there that we could be doing to help our employees. And I want to see it. Part of it is, just take a look at the contracts. I've harped on this ever since I've been on, since I came on, about how much money we're losing with this contract. And $3,014 a day, but we don't, our employees, oh, we're trying everything. No, nobody's trying everything until you look and make your cuts that can be made to help the employees. So that's how I see things going. And there's more. I am planning on giving these checks out, and I'll be informing you when I do, to the other groups and organizations that have been taking the brunt of it and harmed, but it'll go back to the kids and the adults and the elderly of the city. And as I said, I took it out for just a short period of time. I've already signed the papers to pull back. But sometimes you need to do stuff and put yourself on the line to get the message out. And this council needs to do a whole lot more than what they've been doing.
Councilmember Raymond.
You know, initially, I was going to bring up that this was kind of a political witch hunt, but it has since turned into some monstrosity. Councilman Rivera taking your pay and giving it to charity or whatever, I commend it. But you mentioned the Founding Fathers, and, you know, Thomas Paine wasn't a Founding Father, but he helped inspire the soldiers during the Revolutionary War, and he said, you know, these are the times to try men's souls. And what they did is they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for the good of the country. You know, the only reason I bring that up is, you know, I'm the only one up here without any sort of health care. None. I'm not taking it because it's not appropriate at this time. I do believe councils should be compensated, should get their health care when the time deems it, but this isn't it. You know, you mentioned breaks developers, what we're losing, everything like that. That spurs growth and brings in more money to the economy so that we can get out of the rut we're in, so that we can take these things and give the employees back their stuff. That's what we're working for. So some of the cheap shots there for developers are uncalled for and you know, not necessary at this time. This is just an information item, and it didn't need to break down to what it did.
Pro Tem Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to clarify a few of these items. Did the CAL FIRE contract go up? Yes, it did. But the councilman neglects to let you know that they added staffing. They added personnel. That's where a lot of the cost is. Of course, he doesn't want to let you know that because it takes steam out of his engine. Did CAL FIRE give me $10,000 during the campaign? Absolutely. They were my coworkers. I was very proud that my coworkers thought that much of me to donate. I'm not ashamed to say that. And I'll say it to the very end. I was proud for their support. Does it change my view? Not in the least. I have more integrity than that. I do what's best for this city and that only. The councilman talks about special interest. Well, after the fact that this monstrosity solar issue was voted on, the truth comes out that MID's rates were 6 to 9 cents cheaper per kilowatt hour. They weren't given in the program we were given, but we find out later. They just left them out. The other thing I thought interesting is he said he was proud to stand with former Councilman Jeff Rivera, who now works for a solar company. I find that very interesting. So if we want to talk special interest, we can, because it's there. But the thing is, you know, some of these comments that he brought out, it's, again, as I've stated before, he's got a vendetta. Plain and simple, that's all it is. He took this and turned the whole thing around. This has to do with his pay only. But you notice he had a scripted page that he read from. So, yeah, maybe he was planning for this, but it was to take a shot at something that wasn't even on the agenda tonight.
Councilmember Raymond.
I just want to point out there that there was an implied shot at Councilman Jeff Rivero working for a solar company now after doing the contract. It's a completely different company, and there's no involvement with anything with this.
I believe that when I see it.
Any other comments? Councilmember Rivera?
Yes, thank you. There was a few items that I didn't cover, but since it was mentioned, yeah, that was just one check I talked about of $10,000. There's been much more. In fact, the largest campaign contributor to this city is, in the last several elections, is CAL FIRE. There's tens of thousands of dollars contributed, and we have a contract that's now, like I said, $1.1 million more than we used to pay all the firemen who were at the top of the scale. So there was that. And I'm sorry if it came across about developers. I was just stating how much they were going to, the council voted to divert or eliminate those fees at the time. And that's just what the council did. So we can take a look at it however you want to look at that. But $600,000, that's quite a bit. Thank you.
Councilmember Vineyard.
Trucks cost less in 2006. Vegetables and everything else cost less in 2006. Your fire department, when someone was sick, went to 1-0 staffing. You didn't have the training you have now. And I think there's been enough trash talking for one evening. I think we need to move on.
This is merely a discussion item, and Councilmember Rivera, short comment.
Short comment. Yes, fact is not trash talk. If you're charged a $1.1 million more, you're charged $1.1 million more. Didn't say anything bad about them, negative. Didn't say anything about other than what it's costing us. And the people deserve to know this. And it's been held back too long.
Okay. Okay, let's wrap this discussion up for tonight, and let's move along to the next agenda item.
City Council comments and requests for future agenda items.
Councilmember Vineyard.
Due to the fact that the mayor was busy, I had the pleasure of attending the American Legion Auxiliary State Girls State Honors. There were 6 girls from the area. We had 2 girls from Atwater area. Carissa Jacobson from Buhack Colony and Amanda Skidmore. I want to take the time to thank the Patriots Day Committee for the 9/11 ceremony. They did a wonderful job. I don't know if we thanked them enough, but they're planning a big event for next year, and so they're well on their way with that. We had the Fall Festival this last weekend. Unfortunately, it's cooler today than it was this weekend, but we still had a great time. They did a wonderful job, about 90 vendors. So we tried something new this year, or they did, and I think it worked out quite well. What I'd like to do is request, possibly from the city manager, and hopefully all the city council members will go along with this. The certificates that got signed tonight, and the certificates that went to the girls' state, they didn't have signatures. And I think we need to have some name stamps, because there are times when not all of us are available. And I think it would behoove us that we don't ever send out certificates again without any signatures. And either we could sign a certificate and they could copy it, or we can make the name stamps. And if we're not available, text us, call us, get permission from us to stamp them, so that we do not ever send another certificate out without all our names stamped on it. I just think it's not appropriate, doesn't look good for the city. Also, I'd like to find out, in talking this weekend to some solar people, there's several companies I talked to, about how often the solar panels need to be cleaned, and how when they get really dusty, they can be very inefficient. And several of the companies said they need to be cleaned every 3 to 4 months. That could become an issue as you look out the front door. Ours are very filthy. They said during the winter, if you get good rain, obviously they get cleaned off. But we're going to have an issue with not getting the power out of those things as they get dirtier. So I'm not sure how we're going to clean ours, or if it's in the maintenance contract.
It's in the maintenance contract. It's every 2 months.
Okay, every 2 months? Okay, thank you. Because they were recommending every 3. Also, the last thing I have and I know I have a lot usually. We've had several months now where 1 month we'll have a lot on the agenda, another month we may have a very light agenda. I'd like to revisit the option of possibly going to one meeting a month every once in a while. Maybe we go 2 meetings 1 month, 1 meeting the next month, or possibility after the budget's signed, go into 1 meeting a month till December. Maybe just bring it back for discussion or talk about it, revisit it if the rest of the council is up for that. Trying to save some money. It's wear and tear on the staff. Just look at it again. We have better figures now than we had the last time we talked at it. Maybe just at least revisit it and look at it and see if we can't save some additional dollars that we've been looking for. It's up to you folks. That's all I have.
Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you. I too was at the Fall Festival, and it was a really nice event. Not as many people there as before, but it was still very nice. It was overcast and made it a pleasant day. I want to thank everybody who puts it on for what they do for the community. Also, I spent time as a crossing guard for a while, and please drive slowly in school zones because sometimes people either are not looking or they zoom through even though the crossing guard's walking out with the stop sign. So be very careful in school zones.
If I could, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Councilman Vineyard asked to revisit something, and I just want to make sure that we're clear on whether or not we're supposed to be putting something on an agenda or not. So, as I understand it, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, when somebody asks for something to be put on the agenda, if there seems to be a consensus, it goes on. If there's not a consensus, then one person can make a motion, and then you can vote on it, and if it's a majority, then it can go on. But there wasn't any discussion following that, so I just wanted to make sure that we're clear, because otherwise staff sees, if they don't hear an objection, we put it on. So if y'all need to have a discussion about it, this is the time. Otherwise, he needs to make a motion.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to clarify.
Okay. So your suggestion was to come back for discussion about the possibility of a 1 meeting per month type of a schedule, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, what's the consensus of the council?
Just for the sake of discussion, I'd be okay to bring it back.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Second.
Okay. Call for the question.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Rivero,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Raymond,
Yes.
Price.
No.
Motion carries.
Councilmember Raymond.
Councilman Rivero made a good point earlier about donors for campaigns. And in the spirit of transparency, for the second time, I would like to request discussing putting 460s online so the public can see without having to pay for copies of it. The county does it, Merced does it. It's something that we could do.
460s are already available online, are they not? Oh, just the 700s?
No, not the 460s.
Okay.
That way, all the public can go online and see who the big contributors are. That way, everyone knows and there's no secrecy issues or whatever.
So you're asking for this to be a discussion item as well?
Discussion item with possible action.
I'll second it. That's a motion.
Are you, yeah, good point. Is that in the form of a
Yes.
motion? Okay. And a sufficient second. Call for the question.
Raymond,
Yes.
Rivero,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Vineyard,
Yes.
Price.
If it comes with how you're going to do that, yes.
Motion carries.
Scanners.
Pro Tem Bergman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I'm very glad to be back and get back to doing the will of the citizens and serving the best I can. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple things. October 19th is right around the corner. We are going to have another honor flight departing out of Castle. October 19th is a Monday. They will be departing, I believe, I just got the schedule yesterday, 7:30 in the morning. It's a Monday morning. If you missed the last one, this is a real cool deal, and a lot of people show up for it. The aircraft will return 2 days later on Wednesday, and the return time is usually around 5 o'clock. So that's also a big deal. So let's all show our community pride for these veterans of World War II, and I understand there may be even some Korean veterans on this particular flight going to Washington to their memorials, okay? So that'll be, again, October 19th and October 21st for the return. I too want to go and give big kudos to the Chamber of Commerce for the Fall Festival. It looked like a real fun deal out there. The weather was perfect. The Lions Club served up a great couch pillow for breakfast, and it took about the rest of the day to settle that down. But Judy Wilson did a great job on her world-famous biscuits and gravy. And it was just a great little car show also out in front there. Kudos to those folks for that. Also want to pay tribute to the folks at Love Atwater. That was also something that went on this weekend. And for those that don't recall, Love Atwater, group of volunteers getting together and taking off and going out to doing certain projects within the community here for beautification projects, what have you. Great organization, and Gloria, you did a great job. One of the things that we've been doing here most recently is the Feet Changing Lives, or the Stop the Violence campaign. I've spoken about it a couple of times. This is an organization that's run by Reverend Don Ramsey, and his group of staff, volunteers that organize for walking in the areas that are typically high crime areas to show some caring and some concern for those residents there, and basically tell them, you know, this is your neighborhood, you know, you're in control of it, take it back, and your community is here to show their support for you. So we need volunteers for this particular thing. So if anybody would like to help us and go on these walks, they're Wednesday night. They last about 2 hours. It's not a big deal. And the rewards are unbelievable, I can tell you, firsthand experience. So if you're interested, please contact me, and I'll put you in touch with the right people. I also want to pay tribute also to several of the those here in the city who helped organize the 9/11 celebration or memorial here. I was tied up with this firefighting business, and I was not able to make it, and it really bothers me a lot that I wasn't. But I understand that Lieutenant Joseph and several others stepped up and really made it a great celebration. I want to in particular note Lieutenant Joseph, Sam Joseph, for his participation, former Mayor Joan Fall for stepping up and helping to organize, Marguerite from down the hall here over at the city clerk's office, and all the other folks that I can't recall all their names at the moment. Corporal Snyder from the police department, several others. You did a great job, and I look forward to participating next year. October 5th, there will be a Measure H Oversight Committee meeting, and it'll be at 5:30 here in the City Council chambers. So for anybody that would like to attend that meeting, 5:30, okay, on October 5th. Lastly, talking about yesterday there was an incident on my street, my residential street, and several of the police officers showed up there for a kid that was on a go-kart that buried it underneath a pickup truck. So, any case, several of the cops showed up out there. One of the things that happened when I was out there gawking at it like everybody else was when things calmed down, a couple of them came over and asked me about the securing the backside of the parking area where police cars and what have you were all parked out there. When I did my ride-along here several months ago, that was a hot ticket item, and it's still a hot ticket item with them. In this unfortunate day and age right now, when cops are being targeted in places like as harmless as a gas station and being assassinated out there and other places, I think that this is one of those things where we can't deny them the protection that they absolutely need. And so I would request that if we have some RFPs already in place here on file, or if we need to get some, if we could get those RFPs or RFQs, and let's move forward, and let's wall in that area and protect our cops. They deserve it. And I don't know if that needs to be a discussion item or whatever. I think we're just asking for information at this point. Okay, so bring those back for council consideration at the next meeting, if that'd be okay. Okay? And with that, is there any other final comments from any of the council members? Any other afterthoughts? Anything from the audience? Yes, Helen? Please come to the microphone. Them's is the rules. That's the rules. Yeah.
Some cyclone fence that I could donate to you. I don't know.
Well, let me just say, you know, Mr. Vineyard had brought up the suggestion of using some chain link fence that will.
Well, is that what that is?
Basically. And I you know, I applaud the thought, you know, of getting something like that, but to be perfectly honest with you, we need to have something that can't be shot through or
is that what
crawled
you're
over.
trying to
Yeah.
tell
It's on the
me?
next agenda, I believe.
Yeah, well, in any
For
case.
discussion.
Okay, well.
Oh,
we'll-
it's available if you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. And I just, I'll wrap this up here. I just want to thank Dr. Tom Weed. You'll notice, no more glasses. He did a wonderful job. And to thank all the people at the University Surgical Center. It was a great deal. If there's nothing else, thank you all for watching tonight. If you were able to watch, thank you all for coming and attending tonight. This meeting's adjourned.